In this lesson, I'll show you how we can import some section views from our 3D model. Alright, so we have our floor plans in place. So what I'd like to do now is, one, use scrapbooks to place some section symbols on our floor plan so that we can use our floor plan as a reference to know exactly what section we're looking at. But I also want to show you a couple of ways that we can do it. So you can actually extract three-dimensional or section perspectives, or you can actually get a slice of your building and take that thin slice and actually create a group from it. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down just a bit here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my scrapbooks to go ahead and place where I want to get my section from. So as we've kind of done before on our previous page, it's just a matter of clicking and dragging, left clicking and dragging, and dropping into your project. So the first glimpse I want to take into my model, I may want to take a peek at how this tower is constructed and the floor to height relationship and the structure, all the things and information you'd expect to get out of a section. So we'll place our first section here, and I'll worry a little bit later on about, messing with labels. After all, we kind of know how to do that already. But I do want to go ahead and rotate this about 45 degrees so that it sits in here nicely. So I'm going to go right here where it says rotate. I'm going to give it a little nudge here, but I'm going to type in 45. Just to kind of get it exactly where I want it. And I'm going to drop this right here. So this will be the location of my first section, right inside my building. So what this tells me is with these arrows looking this way and this little tail kind of going in this way, when we do the section cut, we actually want to peek out into this particular wing of our building. So we'll do one more. I'm going to do more of a longitudinal section, or a longer section that we can actually use maybe for our section perspective for our model. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. I'll drop this one in and do a quick rotate for this one as well. And I'm just going to bring this straight up to a 90-degree position. And I'm going to move this one down to the center here, like so. And if I wanted to, I can stretch these out here if I want to make it a little bit longer. So I'm going to do just that, actually. We'll go ahead and click on that. I'm going to drag this tail out, and I'm going to drag this one up here as well. Now it looks a little larger than this one, but I'm not too worried about that. I just want to make sure that we can actually see exactly what's going on. So when we set this up, when we go back to our model environment and we set up the scenes, we're going to make sure we reference this and put this in a second bay in this wing, looking that way. And then we're going to create a section going this way, looking to the left. So now that we have those in place, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and bring in a nice giant perspective here so that we have something else to reference, and not only these floor plans. So I'm going to go to File, Insert, and I'm going to go to my desktop here. And I'm going to go look for my Powerful Presentations, Project Files, and I want to import this one. Let me see, this is another way we could actually import stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this around here, change its size just a bit. I'm pretty familiar with how this works now. But I do want this to be pretty large, so I'm going to kind of decrease any of this dead space here. And I do want to come in here and I want to change the orientation of this just a bit. I'm going to get a good look at this model. I definitely want to make it a little bit larger. And I'm going to change its styles to be shaded with textures. That way I have the background is going to be white, but I'll still have a nice color representation here for my model. So now we'll right click, we'll go to Styles, and again I'm going to go to Shaded with Textures, and bingo. And one more thing I want to add to this, let's right click, let's see what shadows can do for us. I'm going to add some shadows. This might really dress up that graphic a little better. Oh, I like what that does, but I definitely want that shadow to be visible, so I'm going to kind of double click and I want to orbit out just a little bit to where we can actually see that shadow. And let's see what happens if we actually rotate it around. I think that shadow might actually be a little distracting because I want to really focus more on the perspective or the entire building and kind of use these as references for my section. Let's go ahead and turn that off. But you now know that option is there. So turn it off and we'll go back to that graphic. I do want to make sure my perspective is on. Perspective really gives a much better dramatic view, I think, and a little more accurate for what we would see if we were looking at this building from this position. So there we go. I like the way that works. So now I'm going to jump into this model, and what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create some section views. So let's open up that model again. So we're going to open up, go back to the Sketchup file that has floor plans and sections in it. And just like we did with our previous page, we're going to set up some scenes, and then we'll probably reference those a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and go with your section plane. And we're going to set our first one to be right here. So I'm going to go till this is flat against where I need it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this inward to the position I want it in, which is basically that second bay, right about there. But I do want to flip, so we're going to go ahead and right-click, and we'll reverse it so that we're looking the other way into the model. So now the cool thing is, if you recall, we can either do a view like this, where we're kind of looking in, taking a peek into the model three-dimensionally, or I can right-click, and I can say, create a group from the slice. And what will happen is, it'll actually literally create a group. So now I can just it'll automatically activate your move here, so you can grab anywhere, and we'll grab that slice, and I'm just going to move it somewhere over here. We can get rid of this section here by clicking on it, right-clicking, and erasing. But check this out. We've actually, from that slice, we've created this little view here. And now we could actually just drop this into our model and place it right near that area where we were when we had our first section placed. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure everything is set nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this one. So actually, we'll go with rotate. And we'll give it a nice 45-degree rotate. Now I'm going to do it one more time. But actually, I want to move it, and I want to get it up to this plane. You can see it's floating way down there. But I'm going to grab it, move it. We'll bring it right up here. And I'll orbit around, and I'll do another quick rotate. Now you can see there's a little bit of work involved, but you're still getting some really powerful looking section views that you would normally have to actually make in some kind of a software that might kick out a DWG file. So here we'll do, I believe we need to do a 90 here. Say 90 degrees so it's flat. I can come here to a top view now. And I'm going to scroll in as quickly as I can. Let's move this over so it doesn't get tangled up with our model. But I can now set up a scene now. So I can say we now have an idea of the foundation, the beams, the slab, floor-to-floor heights, all the things you'd expect to get from a section drawing. So let's go back up here to, we'll go back to window, I believe, and we'll say scenes. And I'm going to go ahead and create this scene. And let's give it a name. So I'm going to say section through tower A. Hit enter. We'll close this out, and we've created our first view. Pretty cool, right? So I will actually import this in just a little bit later. So what I do want to do next is kind of go back to our model, and then the next lesson we'll actually place another section, but we'll do a three-dimensional section. So we could do like a section perspective going directly through here so we can get an idea of what's going on with the spatial relationships in this corridor, or maybe the core of our building. So I'll meet you in the next lesson where we'll do a three-dimensional section.